evening, they have not missed out, they can go back there. So Africa Wisdom Summit is live on YouTube. We are live streaming. Shout out to the team. Another thing I just want to remind us all of is the room has Wi-Fi. I personally, at this point, the moment Dr. Pete asked me for the Wi-Fi password is when I remembered, oops, I do not know it. So I'm going to come back to you momentarily with the Wi-Fi password. You see, the great thing about reminders. Thank you very much. We have these papers on the tables. Please, for the team, organization team, Rachel, Lucy, Sharon, please do, let's make sure that these are available on all tables. I think we're missing it here. Is any other table missing the Wi-Fi code? Just here? Okay. Let me just give it, maybe you could take a photo. And then, we'll make sure you have you have it. Wonderful. All right. And with that, we are good to go. Are you ready? You are not ready. Are you ready? There we go. I am going to start by welcoming a woman that, in all honesty, she speaks for herself, but a woman who is fire. She is fire. But when you see her, you will not tell. She is the source of what it means to be an African leader, a strong and powerful visionary, right? But when she comes here, she'll probably laugh it off. That's what most African women do. You laugh it off, women. But doubt me not that she is a contender. And the things she's doing for this continent, I personally am proud for the fact that I get to be in her presence and get to walk with her one way or the other. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to give a mighty round of applause and welcome to Mrs. Christine Musisi. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Kalila. I'm trying to be young. That's why I was jumping onto the podium. Very welcome, everyone. Welcome. It is so nice to have all of you here at the very first Africa Wisdom Summit. The summit is here. Yes? And we are the pioneers. Isn't that amazing? I was expecting to hear a clap, but it didn't come. Yes, I would like to acknowledge the founder and visionary of the Africa Wisdom Summit, Dr. Dennis Sempebwa, who is the founder of the Sahara Wisdom Center. Please wave to everyone. And founder of the Africa Wisdom Summit, and he came with his team, the Chief Operating Officer for Eagle of Eagle's Wings, Ms. Lisa Romsberg. Very welcome. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Lucas Shalua, Senior Pastor of CCC. CCC is, as you can see, is a key partner of this event. And when you hear about the live stream team from CCC is the one that is helping us here. And we will have Dr. Dorothy Shalua. She will come very soon. And then we have our amazing guests. We have people who have come from many different places. They have crossed the oceans and seas and mountains and valleys. And, I would like to welcome our amazing guest, Dr. Joshua Banda from Zambia. Also, Dr. Sibeso, also from Zambia. We will get to know them later as we move forward. Dr. Peter Dara from Kenya. Pastor Mitsu and Sion from Ethiopia. Very welcome. And I would like to also acknowledge the presence of our leaders in Tanzania. Dr. Bugoya, our senior wisdom. We are expecting others, but I don't see them in the room, so we will introduce them as they come. And I would like to also welcome Pastor Nsia Ndosi. Wonderful woman, absolutely. She has fire in her. Pastor Elia Joshua, you have already met him. And I would like to give a great deal of gratitude to the chairman of the Africa Wisdom Summit, Dr. Charles Sokile. Dr. Charles Sokile. And the committee members, please stand up so we can acknowledge you. Yes, yes. Thank you. Our sincerest gratitude to our sponsors for this event. Thank you so much for your generosity and partnership. Unleashed Africa, stand up, Kalila. DSW, we have a whole team of the, is that Peter? Oh, you're here. Come here in the front. Nice to see you, thank you. Thank you so much. Overcomers, where are you? Over there, Haruni. Multi-choice, anybody here? Melian, Melian, thank you so much for your partnership and contribution. And we have other amazing women who have contributed, who have decided to remain anonymous, but we have about 3 of them that have really come in a strong way. Asanteni sana. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. I would also like to welcome, and if I have forgotten you, please let me know. I usually accept. I would like to welcome the kingdom leaders of Inuka Ongoza Africa, our new baby in town. Can you stand up? From Uganda, from Tanzania, stand up, please. Kingdom leaders. Welcome, welcome. In Tanzania, they're led by Mrs. Josephine Nyoni. In Uganda, they're led by Pastor Moses Subuga. Very welcome. We have in our midst young entrepreneurs and professionals, Pan-African leaders, captains of industry, policy makers, and social influencers. I would like to welcome everyone also who made the most significant decision to come to this fireplace, to seek and give wisdom and become part of this incredible transformative movement to shape the Africa that we want. Please congratulate your neighbor. They've made a very good decision to come here. So, as you congratulate your neighbor, we need to ask ourselves, why are we here? Why are we here? Taking from the visionary, Dr. Dennis, we came together and have actually caught the vision and we are running with it. We have a great vision to reignite the wisdom fireplace in Africa, where young and older generations sit together and exchange wisdom. We find ourselves in a world where we have somewhat lost the intergenerational connection. Indeed, the young people have, access to the modern wisdom through TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat. I've never even seen Snapchat. Reality TV, bloggers, and our team subjected me to a Twitter dialogue last week. When was that? A few days ago. It was my very first one. I said, wow, And all those amazing new world influencers, you have access to all of them, who are also actually shaping global norms. And they're shaping new global norms. On the other hand, we have the older generation like ours and a little bit older that is not very well versed with these new, norms and is seen as old school. And yet, actually, we hold a lot of wisdom in us. And you find that a lot of times we also hold the purse, And we hold the policy making decision, the decision-making power. And there is a need for us to bring what we have, you know, the new wisdom, the old wisdom, to bring it together, to create a new value system for Africa. You know, this disconnection has somewhat stolen a very critical part of our African life, our identity, and ability to pass on our good wisdom from generation to generation. We used to have an oral society where you pass on the wisdom from generation to generation. But so my big question, ladies and gentlemen, how do we unlock the African mastermind in ways that will enable our young generation not only to survive, but to thrive into significance? We are a young continent with 70% of our population under the age of 35. You know, who is above the age of 35? If you're bold enough to. How many of you in this room? Very few. Okay. So you actually, this room represents Africa. This room represents the essence of who we are and where we are at the moment. And my question is, how are we investing in our current and future generations to grow and lead with wisdom that will bring lasting prosperity for them and for their communities? How can we pass on, even learn a new wisdom together that will build a just and peaceful society? How can we transform our continent into one that does not follow but leads globally? The Africa Wisdom Summit is for you. It's for leaders who want to shape the destiny of Africa and to renew its story in today's world. We aim to co-create an African value system that equips young leaders for excellence, for influence, and there's no point of becoming an influencer with no impact in economy, politics, media, family, and society as a whole. So what do we hope to achieve in these 2 days? The first and foremost objective for us is the intergenerational connection. If we achieve that, you know, to actually facilitate an intergenerational, honest conversation about the issues that are confronting us today, you know, bringing age, vitality of youth, experience of the older, aspirations of the younger, and all our common wisdom together while closing the generational gap. Wouldn't that be amazing? The second objective is to nurture a transformative mindset to enable young leaders to thrive in their spheres of influence. Such a mindset, we believe, needs to be rooted in one's true identity, understanding your true identity. Third, we would like to build a value-based leadership system anchored in African wisdom, sound African wisdom, because not every African wisdom is sound, you know, for the Africa that we want. And how are we going to do this? We are going to interact. We are going to explore our true identity. We are going to interrogate the norms and values we hold dear today that can propel us into our desired destiny. We also will work on charting a way forward that will ignite the fire of wisdom across the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, the fire of wisdom across the continent, which we hope will influence the way we grow, the way we lead, and the way we live. As we were preparing for the summit, one of our facilitators who was very bold, she asked me, I wanted to name her, but then I don't know if I should name her. She asked me a very important question. What is wisdom? Here we are. We've been preparing the African Wisdom Summit. What is wisdom? You know, so I thought, should I go to the dictionary? What should I do? But, you know, while we have many definitions, I would like to tackle this question through my own experience. You know, when I was growing up, my father used to give us sessions he called Muvubuka Agunjuse, meaning, you know, he used to do it right after the evening prayers. And I admit these sessions were a big attraction for me to attend the evening prayers, you know. And it meant, Muvubuka Agunjuse means the civilized or the wise young person. Okay? And this was our wisdom fireplace where we would get a powerful word of wisdom from our father every single day. But one word of wisdom really stuck in my mind and has guided my life path since then. You know, my father said, when you have a certificate of education, be it high school, be it diploma, be it degree, do everything like somebody who has a degree, who has a diploma, who has a certificate. Okay? However simple it is, you know, do it with excellence. In this same session, you know, he told us about a janitor in NASA, you know, who was very diligent at his work. And somebody asked him, why are you so diligent? And as he was sweeping, he said, I'm sending a man to the moon. You know, I learned later that this is a trait of excellence, helped by the clarity of who you are, why you are, and where you are going. Okay? So even as a student in the UK, I was sought after. They wanted to give me full-time jobs as a silver spoon waitress, because when I did it with my all. As a caregiver of the elderly, I did it with all. You know, and in fact, I was even promoted from a nursing home to a hospital, you know, because I was doing everything, remembering what my father was saying. And because of this, I was also invited for my job as Chief Technical Advisor in Kyrgyzstan from being a UN volunteer in Mongolia, because I took every element of my job with this in mind. For the next job, I wasn't actually interviewed. They interviewed the people who worked with me. But, there's always a but, I almost lost my excellence through pride. I had reached a point where I was so proud to be humble, you know, and realized I was not humble anymore. And God, you know, they say, but God, you know, and God brought me a boss who brought me to my knees. And I learned my lesson, that pride comes before a fall. And I was so fortunate that for me, it came before the knees, not before the fall. And in this, I learned that excellence comes with a desire to seek knowledge and to understand. It comes with valuing and respecting people you work with, work for, and serve in community. It comes with commitment to quality of service, consistency, patience, and mostly, at least in my experience, the determination and intention to love the country I work in, because I've been posted to many countries, and its people, you know, and to love my teams, you know, with truth, justice, and mercy. And also to love myself, okay? And in loving myself, I also love my family. By the way, I didn't acknowledge one very important person in my life. Where is he? Where? Mr. Musisi, hi. Great man, You're a great man. I'm so honored to be your wife. Now, this is only one trait of wisdom. One can talk about practicing good judgment, integrity, practice of justice, discretion, and discernment, generosity, humility. I believe that if wisdom were to guide our leadership in Africa, we would be walking in multi-generational prosperity. We would lead rather than play politics, wouldn't we? We would not have coup d'etats and civil unrest. We would not live in poverty when we are the richest continent, holding 30% of the world's mineral wealth and 60% of the world's unutilized arable land. We would reap our demographic dividend and harness the great human capacity we have on the continent and the capacity that is also spread in the diaspora all over the world. Wisdom is important to us as Africa because our aspirations are huge as a continent. Our vision 2063 is of a united, peaceful, prosperous continent driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena. That's our vision as a continent, okay? And it's for you, young leaders. I will be 98 in 2063, or a bit more. You know, some of us will be 120, maybe, totally retired. So you need young people to start leading now, leading yourself first and others in great wisdom, investing in understanding what works in the global space that we are in today and acquiring the knowledge and networks to expand and grow. If we are to be united, if we are to prosper and foster peace, harness the full capacity of our people and lead global dynamics, we need a new way of thinking, okay? I always consider that the I, me, and myself is the lowest level of thinking. We need to move from a victim mentality towards confidence in who we truly are to impact the world for good. We need to make the right policy choices. We need to conduct business that adds value to others and doesn't exploit the next generations. What a happy community we would be if we applied good judgment and justice in the affairs of family, community, and the nation. What an advanced society we would be if each one of us is invested in learning and innovation, if we were curious and courageous to move into the new territories, not just to seek green pastures, but to influence and impact. We can be the Vasco da Gamas of the 21st century at a time when we do not have to navigate the seas, the dangerous seas, and get malaria like they did. You know, we have technology that can put you in Papua New Guinea in 1 minute or even less, no? Yes. So why do other nations have 100-year plans for Africa and we don't have 100-year plans for even Africa, for Asia, for Europe and the Americas? We can begin to change that here. Yes. Can we be wise in today's world to build a continent that meets its God-given destiny for the splendor of His Majesty? I believe we can. Yeah? Once again, welcome everyone to the first Africa Wisdom Summit. Karibuni sana.
I'm knocked out. It's knockout, and that was just the beginning, guys. Wow, all right. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're putting it online. Engage people who are not here. The what ifs, we have talking about the what ifs, but what we're going to do is come out of, this is how we're going to make that what if happen. And so it gives me great privilege and an incredible honor to bring to the stage the CEO of the Sahara Wisdom Center, the founder of the Africa Wisdom Summit, for his keynote address for today. A massive round of applause for Dr. Dennis Sempebwa. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Wow. Thank you for coming. It did happen. Thank you. Our special guests and honorees, sponsors, partners, thank you so much. As to Africa Wisdom Summit steering committee members and esteemed speakers, fellow speakers, thank you so much for coming, for saying yes to a crazy idea. Facilitators, panelists from here, right here in Tanzania, delegates from Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Zambia. Oh my goodness, hallelujah. All right, sorry, I'm a preacher. Special thanks to Chris. I'm trying to read, because if I don't read out, we're gonna be here long. So let me read. All right, trust me. Special thanks to Madame Christine. Thank you so much. She is a firecracker. She just said, so I shared the vision. I call her. I said, Christine, can we do something? Live it with me. This is what live it with me looks like. This is live it with me. Thank you so much, and it's just been an amazing journey. Welcome again. Welcome to the inaugural Africa Wisdom Summit. I want to speak on the topic, the new African value system. Again, I typically would speak extemporaneously, but I need notes because it's such a wide topic. I am a son of the soil, as they say. I was born in Uganda, in Mukono. In Mukono. My early childhood exposed me to tribalism and poverty, and I just remember not having shoes. That was a big one. I don't know, not having shoes, man. No shoes. Today I have a lot of pairs of shoes, and sometimes I look at my shoes, I'm like, yeah, I think I need therapy. Because I was so traumatized. Just shoes. I didn't have shoes. It was hard. Would go pick mangoes. My mother, before she passed away, how come you would send us out for lunch to climb trees? I didn't have anything to feed you, she said, the mangoes and guavas, and so poverty, anarchy, and Idi Amin. And in 1979, I still remember Tanzania. Thanks to Tanzania, you guys came and you liberated us. And I always wanted to say thank you, and today I get to say thank you. Thank you, Tanzania. Thanks to Tanzania. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, after you left, we messed it up again. Coup after coup, chaos. But all that adversity led me to faith, and it renewed my thinking. It literally reoriented my identity, because my thinking was, I'm poor, I'm never going to grow old. Then I had learned that the Sempebwas don't even live long. My father's father had died at 39. We didn't make age 40. So I'm thinking I'll never grow old. I was just one of those intense 12-year-old kids who were just like, people were playing. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I think I'm gonna die. I think if I lived in America, I'd need therapy. I'd be depressed, because they would give it a name. But in Uganda, come on, get up. You gotta survive. But there I was. But I came to faith, and faith just I got a new internal dialogue. I am not lost. I'm not hopeless. I'm not some wandering generality. God has a purpose and a plan for my life. I will be okay. Why? Because I'm a child of God. And it was like, what? It was just big, but it clicked. Something clicked. But as you know, prayer isn't enough, is it? No. Prayer didn't change Uganda. In fact, it became worse. One reporter said the cheapest commodity in Uganda, right, post Idi Amin, was life itself. People the bodies would be rotting in the streets like dogs. Like, you know, if your friend went shopping, not shopping. Shopping sounds, yeah. Go get tomatoes, you know. And they didn't come back, you go looking for them because they may be dead. This was our childhood. So prayer was good. I had faith, but chaos still ensued. It was crazy. So the English have this proverb, and it's really touched me. Every man must row with the oars that has been given. I was like, because, you know, I found I had oars. I could sing. It's called musicality. I had music. I could tell notes. I could do music. Can I do music? Can I do something with these oars? And that I did. Friends and I formed a group called New Wave Band at the time. Got invited to England. Group became known as Limit X. You know Limit X? You know, it's so bad, feet, that sometimes in Uganda, this was the most iconic group. So like, who's Limit X? I was in an interview recently, and the reporter, you know, the top, you know, TV girl, she did not know Limit X. And it was almost there, so the older people were like, what? You don't know Limit X? Because generation. But they knew Malibongwe. They knew the hit song, but, you know, Limit X. So I could sing, and so we formed this band. It's 16 years later, the band is big. Awards and fame and acclaim. And in 2004, I usually say the music stopped. When the music stops, I've written, when the music stops, you got to get off the dance floor. And the music stopped, we had to get off the dance floor. So I went to school, education, got into training, and got into itinerant ministry, and 2 master's degrees and 3 doctorate degrees. Today I stand here blessed beyond my absolute wildest imagination. I ran 5 global organizations, corporations. We've got hubs in 27 countries. And after this mad, wild dash, 43 years, I feel ready to give back to my beloved Africa. Turns out that Africa, she's young. 70% under 35. That really hits me. I was in Uganda 2 months ago, and they said the average age in Uganda is 16.7 years old. The average Ugandan is 16 years old. Traditionally, Africa, that wouldn't have been a problem because she would have sat around this proverbial fireplace to listen to music and stories reminding her of who she is, where she'd come from. Her lineage, her heroes, her challenges, the triumphs that formed her people. She would learn about diligence and honor and courage, perseverance and forgiveness, respect, community, morals from the folktales and the proverbs that she vociferously recited there around the fireplace. She would memorize timeless truths and would learn values that spoke to her sense of direction, sense of meaning, values that define her culture. There's an old African proverb says, if we stand tall, it is because we stand on the shoulders of many ancestors. The Wazee. That is 2023. There's no fireplace. There's no Wazees. The ancestors are silenced. They're reluctant to voice their old-fashioned, old, uncool opinions. So who does she listen to? Government? economists, politicians, lawmakers, clergy. Does she listen to teachers? No, she tried TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Christine had never heard of Snapchat. Yeah, trust me, I am clueless too. Bloggers, there's a new one every day, Pundits, chat rooms, social media influencers, all thanks to the universal access to the internet. So Africa is gleefully adopting these new norms from the global public square. I call it GPS. And if it isn't blatantly obvious, friends, GPS is undergoing what I call a cataclysmic identity crisis of its own. They call it wokeism. I call it postmodernism. My book, latest book, it's called Black Like Me, I call it presentism. The idea that only the present is real, only what's real, only what's present, that's what's real. This is today. Let's pull down this monument. It's hateful. It offends me. Wait. But our fathers put it there to remind us of the impact that bloody battle had on our stories, designed to be timeless in structure, in stature, in meaning, in meaning. We don't get to whitewash history or reinterpret it and suddenly attribute new meaning to it because we now feel some collective guilt over portions of it. No, it must go, insists this hypersensitive 22-year-old. Sorry if you're 22, sorry. It triggers me. See, because presentism is arrogant. It's, in fact, shockingly audacious. Now, this could offend someone. I'm sorry, but please kindly indulge me. Can we think for a minute about this gender dysphoria phenomenon? Can we just for a minute, right? In 2003, about 20 years ago, if I said that a man could become a woman by simply feeling like it, even surgically, they'd call me mad. They'd call me delusional. Well, not today. Poor dad is asking, can someone please tell me why? And I need to understand the emotional state that's caused my 7-year-old boy to feel like he's a girl. Presentism says, no, we don't ask such a bigoted question. That's transphobic. You must affirm your son's gender journey, or we're going to cancel you, or we're going to ruin you. And here's a fact, ladies and gentlemen, sorry. While it's entirely plausible, possible to identify as anything, studies now conclusively show that even after extensive gender-affirming care, a man simply cannot become a woman. Nor can a woman become a man. Well, Dennis, are you denying diagnosis? Well, no, but in the words of this distinguished professor of psychiatry, Dr. Paul McHugh, he says this, he's right, he says, transgenderism is a mental disorder that merits treatment similar to a dangerously thin person suffering anorexia who looks in the mirror and thinks they are overweight. Do we affirm them? Do we say, okay, oh, you do feel fat? Okay, don't eat. What do? We treat them. Not these days. These days, and we're taking it to another level. Lisa, my executive assistant, Lisa is white, as you can see, she's very white. These days, Lisa can now self-identify as a Maasai. And you don't, because she gets to, this is what she feels. Dr. Peter there is my dear friend, Pete, can now absolutely self-identify as a 4-year-old girl. And if Dr. Peter 4-year-old Peter, let's call her Cindy. If Cindy wants to go and play with your 4-year-old boy, you're not supposed to judge him or her. Oh, her, him, her. They. My point, again, friends, I know when speaking like this, which is really crazy, especially in America, people will be just walking out. Right now, it will be so offended, just even bringing it up, they'll be offended. So, I'll be canceled. Right now, they'll walk out. Okay. But I don't want to debate these global shifts. But for whatever reason, GPS has now decided to question historical or biological norms. I recently heard an Ivy League professor testify that a man can absolutely get pregnant. And he was just in front of Congress, you know. Now we're shocked, some of us. I hope some of us are shocked. Just these days you don't know, right? Their values have changed. That's all I'm going to say. I'm saying that their values have changed, so have their internal culture. But please know this: GPS, this global, public square, is guiding young Africa right now. I was in universities over in Uganda. I was like, what? They asked me a question because I was talking, and they actually accused me of being privileged. I was saying, hey, I grew up in Uganda. I grew up here. I was jumping over bodies here. Excuse me, you're privileged, so you can't talk. I'm like, wait, I'm telling my story. I'm saying that because I lifted from somewhere, you can too. And that was offensive right away. Wow. I said, can I talk? Can my story? No. You are privileged. You're married to a white girl, right? I said, yeah. Oh, look at you. She works, and then they find out about Lisa. She works for you? Do you realize how privileged you are? I said, but I grew up here, really poor. No, you can't. Your story is special, so shut up. This is what we're facing right now. And guys, it is actually here already. Because it came through. America is where it is because 50 years ago, they did that in academia. The guys graduated, the guys wrote policy became law. It is here right now. That's why universities and colleges, they're the front lines. Right now, right this minute. I saw this video of this man, really big burly men with chest hairs. They were wearing nappies. They had binkies in their mouths because they identified as babies. I was like, what? My daughter's Harvard grad student, so I was talking to her about this. I said, you can identify as anything. What if I identify as cats, an animal? And she says, Daddy, that's not a joke. I said, what do you mean? He said, oh yeah, we've got what's called furry spaces, where you literally go in a room if you feel like a cat. You go in a room and you go meow, 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 meow. And really, literally. And they put food in these cat jars and you go, grown men, Ivy League, some of the smartest people in the world in some of these Ivy League, there's places in schools where if you feel like a cat, that's where you go and you're safe and you better not be judged. They should not judge you. Meow. Sorry. If you walked in here and you feel like a cat this morning, I'm sorry to offend you, you know. Again, my point is not to debate these norms or shifts, you know. Africa. Come on, Africa. This is the issue. Our internal culture has not changed. Which is why some of us are like, what? Let me hear you say, what? Uh-huh. And for our leaders are saying, wait. And we say, wait. Because our leaders are saying, wait. New skits to write new movies, new blogs. Africans managing our own seas. Uh-oh. You know, because there's the whole thing. Yeah, we're going to teach you how to fish. Okay, first of all, stop teaching us how to fish. Before you teach us how to fish, can you scoot over? Can you get out of our waters? Number one, can you leave our seas alone? Okay, we love you, but can you leave it? Okay, number one, leave our seas alone. Number two, don't teach us to fish. We're going to figure out how to catch our fish. Maybe we'll catch them by hands. Come on. We don't have to use your hooks. Those are your hooks. You go to the Atlantic. We've got Tanganyika. We got our Victoria. Can we please? Excuse me. And then let us do business. Yeah. Come on. Don't let the preacher come out. No. Preacher, stop. Shh. Preacher, shh. Oh my God. Preaching. Woo! Where do we start? A timeless truth. We cannot perform in a manner that is inconsistent with the way we think. As long as we see ourselves as inept victims, we will always be stuck at the bottom. The wise old King Solomon says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Ooh, an eagle which thinks like a chicken cannot fly. Friend of mine, guy that I read about, this guy who goes on the back of a circus with all these elephants doing, so he wants to go to during the intermission, he goes to the back of the elephant, close up. He's like, wow, big elephant. But then he's like, oh, wait, elephant is not caged in. Something's wrong. So the attendant says, no, he's okay. Look at, he's got a rope. He said, what do you mean rope? He said, rope around him, the right foot, right there. He says, no, he's an elephant. He said, no, he's okay. He said, no, but we need a cage. He said, no, he's okay. When elephant was small, we put that rope on him. And of course he tried. He couldn't. One day he stopped trying. But it didn't stop growing. Elephant kept growing. Elephant is big. The caretaker said, actually, you're right. The little rope cannot hold the elephant. Of course, but the elephant doesn't know because he has a long memory. He remembers that he can't go anywhere, and that's good enough for us. When I heard that, I was like, this is Africa. A long time ago, we were shackled. We tried. We couldn't go anywhere. We don't know that we're not there anymore. The problem is our minds. I'm black. I'm disadvantaged. No. You're big. You can, that thing, if you wanted, if you thought different, that cannot shackle you. Get loose. Get loose. Get loose, Africa.
You of those words and put them online. And like an army, have young people get that message. Now imagine. Because I'm sitting there and thinking, oh my word. That elephant, is us. That elephant is us. And you feel very dumb. Because normally, you many of us have probably seen that picture online where you're like, hey, that elephant, poor elephant. But then you're told that elephant is you. And when you think about it, it's true. And so let us collectively make it our responsibility. Can we agree to make it our responsibility to take as much of this wisdom and share it on our pages? Even if you do not know what to post, I believe that we're posting on the Africa Wisdom Summit pages. We're going to be posting, so you can take there and repost. And if you're unsure completely that you don't know how to repost, just go on YouTube, take that link and share it with somebody. right? If you want your life transformed, if you want to step into purpose, if you want to step into something meaningful, because every one of us has a desire to have impact. Listen to this, all right? Can we agree to do that? All right, nice, nice, nice. Now with that, I'm just going to ask Dr. Sempebwa to come back to the stage for me, please, and take the seat right here, right in the middle. Yes, you can clap. Feel free to clap. I'm then going to ask two incredible people to join him on the stage. I'm going to ask Dr. Lucas Shalua from City Christian Center to join him on the stage as well. And then I'm also going to ask Pastor Nsia Ndosi from King's Touch Church to also join him on the stage. And then I'm going to practice my muscles. See, I'm not an elephant. I know I can move. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to have what we're calling a reflective conversation. Can we agree that we've heard a lot, right? And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. We've heard a lot. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to have a reflective session on what has been shared. Now, this reflective session is also something that everybody here will get to engage in. So your reflections, your takeaways, what you're thinking, the things that have been triggered and prompted within you, please put them down, because we will also come back to you and we will all get a moment to speak. And if you, for example, you think that, oh, Kels will not come to me, I am coming to you. She will not select me, I'll not put my hands up, I'll find you. Just so that you know. All right. And so with that, I'm going to come over to you, and just perhaps Pastor Nsia, as well as Dr. Shalua, give you a moment to introduce yourself, and just in brief, you can start with just a brief reflection on what Dr. Dennis has shared, and then we can go from there. I'll start with you, Pastor Nsia, and then come over to you, Dr. Shalua.
Good morning. Well, I'm honored to be here. I actually feel privileged, because I think among those that sit or stand, I probably am the youngest. So I'm the 35, I'm striking the in-between, because I'm 35, so I represent Africa. I'm a senior pastor of King's Touch Church, a wife and a mother, and a theologian. And I love Africa. I love the young people. I love this generation. And I have, according to my call, I am just here to serve that generation. So whatever it takes, as long as it is legal, I do it. So that's me. Now, do I go straight to the reflection, or?
Thank you so very much. My name's Dr. Lucas Shalua. I wear so many hats. I am the senior pastor at the moment at City Christian Center here in Upanga since last year around March. But I am also a leader. I am an entrepreneur and an academician. I do own a college and a university in North Carolina, United States of America. I'm still the president of that college. We also own, with my wife, Dr. Dorothy at the back there, we also own a home health care in North Carolina. We also are involved with real estate businesses here in Tanzania and back in the United States. I love the Lord. I have 3 children, and they're all millennials and Generation Z. So it's quite interesting talk we're hearing right now. Wonderful. And again, I feel so honored to be with the panel here, with the panelists, and to do my reflections. And I really look forward sharing and also hearing from young people around here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. A hand of applause to them, please. So what we're hearing is what we have is business leaders, what we have is spiritual leaders, what we have is household and generation leaders on the stage, and we also have massive change agents. So directly to you, Pastor Nsia, let us know what your reflections are. We start off there.
Wow. He shared some really heavy stuff. However, one of those that have stood out for me is that the generational gap. And I shared this a little bit when we're having the preparatory meeting with Dr. Dennis, Mama Christine, and Dr. Shalua, and Dr. Sokile, that there is such a generational gap that some of the young people have decided to mentor themselves. They have chosen to have younger people who are going to mentor them. So as long as you, perhaps let's look at maybe marriage. As long as you've been married 2 years, I think you're good enough. You can give me the ABCs, and from there we will learn, training on the job. We'll learn as we go by. Reason being, the elders, as to what Dr. Dennis shared, that it has gotten to a place where when the elders were giving their directions and instructions, when the elders were giving their counsels, it got to a place the younger people said, I think that's uncool. I think that is too unanifunga sana, as in it's too restrictive, so I want my freedom. I want 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I think it got to a place the elders said, well, we're leaving you alone, find your way, and then they were silenced. But then, in then saying we're leaving you alone, then the younger people got into trouble, and because of pride, they cannot come back to the elders and ask for help because, well, I had said I will find my way. Now, in history, which is the good Bible, really, there is this king called Rehoboam. King Rehoboam took over from his father, King Solomon. And the elders, or the council of elders who were helping King Solomon run the nation, came to him after, the people of Israel had complained of a few things. And he asked them, what do I do? They told him what to do. But then he decided to go to his younger generation, to the people of his own peers, and ask them, this is what the elders are telling me to do. What do you say I do? Now, they gave him a very bad, advice, and long story cut short, the kingdom was divided. Now, in the council of elders, there is safety. We cannot say that we don't need the elders. However, at the same time, we pray for the elders to open up to us. I'm saying us because I represent that, generation. We pray for them to open up to us and have patience as we are learning, because as much as you're giving us directions and the counsel, we are also self-discovering. We are also in a process or, a journey of discovering who we are. So we will make plenty of mistakes. However, at it, there is where now we want that wisdom. So you create, we pray that you create that safe, that safe place, that fireplace. One more story. When Tony Blair was, just ascended onto the prime ministry, his first meeting, because there is a tradition that the prime minister will have an audience with the queen once a week. So his very first meeting with the queen said, he came in and because he had won such victoriously, so there is this feeling like, I'm the man, you know, at that moment. So when his first audience with the Queen said, my first prime minister was Winston Churchill. That was 1952. You were not born. He put him in his place with just that one statement, that young man, you want to run the UK. Been there, done that. So sit and listen. Sit and listen. That's my own version. Well, my husband's version is a bit more dramatic, but it just brings this perspective that if at all you think you're everything, there are those that have gone ahead of you. And it does not cost you much. Just sit and listen.
I feel like there are tweetable things there. So I hope you're tweeting. The young generation, you get me. There are tweetable things that you're tweeting. Okay, we're going to look for them. FWS 2023, hashtag FWS 2023, hashtag Africa Wisdom Summit. All right, Dr. Shalua, over to you.
Thank you so very much. If Dr. Sempebwa said that he was not preaching, I'm wondering when he preaches what happens. But that was a very dynamic and very broad talk. And there are so many things that caught my attention. But there is this one thing I kept on thinking, that it seems as if Africa as a nation, as a continent, has lost its identity. We are in the identity crisis mode. We don't know who we are and what we can do. A good analogy of that elephant. There is another one also for the bear, which the animal activists decided to take this bear back to the wilderness. The circus bear had served for more than 20 years. And the animal activists said it's time to take it back to the wilderness. Once they dislodged this bear to the bush, the bear kept on walking only 20 feet back and forth because that was the size of its cage. And they had to take it back to the circus because it could never, ever survive again in the bush. And again, when you are saying that, it came into my mind, that's what we are. We have been brainwashed so much that we don't know who we are. We have extended out the hand to beg literally for everything. We don't know how much brain power collectively we have. And so many times I've been asked in the United States, are you sure you're from Africa? And I said, the last time I checked, yes, I am. And many people don't believe that good things can come out of Africa. And they have made us to believe that nothing good can come out of our continent. So we've been shooting ourselves down on our feet so many times. We will want affirmation from somebody else to do something which is completely ours. We want somebody else to endorse our own plans and strategies. So my take is truly we need that intellectual emancipation. Somebody needs to tell us and wake us up that we have all that it takes to become what we want to be. We don't need anybody at times. We can collaborate. We can work with them. But in essence, I believe that we are independent. We have everything which takes us to become very wealthy. By the way, the last time I checked, we are the wealthiest continent. We are so wealthy. And when we talk about wisdom and knowledge and understanding, the corporate world at the moment is borrowing a lot of African wisdom and philosophies and just change the verbiage, just changing the words. They talk of, corporate responsibility. They talk of communal, the community. I mean, we have been in community since when Africa is known. We live in communities. Right now, they are coming with these buzzwords as if it is something new. But we have been doing that forever. So it's time, I believe, we need to look into what we have, value it, use it for our own good. And the African proverb, which is used everywhere now in the world, is if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go farther, go together. We had that wisdom for thousands of years, but right now every big corporate company in the world uses that wisdom, but we need to own it. And some people talk as if it is theirs. Well, I believe it is ours. And we need to put a copyright on some of our wisdom. They need to say that this comes from Africa. One time, I went to a coffee place, a chain which is called Starbucks. Some of you might know Starbucks, but it's very popular in the US. And to cut a long story short about Starbucks, I was told even the original brand they had, they stole it from Ethiopia. And they had to pay the Ethiopians because they were like the gurus of coffee around the world are the Starbucks, while even the logo and the coffee itself comes from Ethiopia. And thank God to the Ethiopians, they rose and confront that big elephant, and they had to pay them for taking their identity for so many years and making so much money out of it. And there's so many stories, which what comes to my mind is it is time to change our mindset. It is time to know who we are and to look at our potential and do, because there is no Greek, there is no Jew. God has given us gifts. God has given us a lot of potential which remains untapped. Thank you for now.
Thank you very much. And so we're talking about mental models and these mental thought patterns that are within Africans, so that we don't believe in what we own. One of the things that you talk about when you go to America, they tell you, are you sure you're from Africa? One of the things I love Kenya, but I particularly hate is when I go to Kenya and they say, are you sure you're Tanzanian? You don't appear. And across every platform I'm in, there is no way you're from, I'm like, why? And then there are these stereotypes. Tanzanians are, I won't say them, you know them. I don't want to put these words into the cosmos, but Tanzanians are, and you don't look Tanzanian, and you don't sound Tanzanian, you don't, and I'm like, listen, I am Tanzania, the Kilimanjaro flows through me. But then, unfortunately, what I've seen in those platforms is some people would say, and us young people would say, I feel American because you feel. And so as a young person, I've been in those platforms where because we, one way or the other people relate to us as other, we want to quickly disassociate with ourselves with what we consider is negative, instead of now taking the mantle and being responsible for saying, actually, the reality is this. Right? And then on the other hand, I just wanted to share a story. I'm going to come back to you just on the side of young people. We work, Unleashed Africa, we work within the creative space. And one day, one of our creatives, I won't share his name, but he came to me and he was really disgruntled. And Mama Christian, he says, he's like, why don't we invent anything? Because we work on projects to do this, to change people's mental models about what we as Africans can do. And I said, and we were working on a project, and it's like, it's really sad that the guitar is from West, that the drums are from the West, that these dances are from the West, hip-hop is from the West, kizomba is from the West. And I sat there aghast, because I was like, hey, there's a problem. Because all these things are African. Poems, he said, poems are from the West. Singing and those, the notes, they're from the West. What do? We take everything. And so we're in these sessions where a lot of young creatives are going through a massive crisis because you don't believe that what's yours is sacred. And so we try to copy what we believe comes from them. But the fact of the matter is, all these things that he was saying, we started having a conversation about its history. And the question was, where did that disassociation happen? Because in the at the fireplace is when we would also sing songs. And then we would learn our songs. So were we too busy fighting for independence, and I'm just throwing a question, fighting for independence that we forgot to share these songs because we're too busy focused on that? Were we too busy now after independence looking for white collar, blue collar jobs that we didn't take time to let them know that this is who we are? Where did we lose it? Where did we lose this fireplace? And then also, where we are now as a young person is question, where do we go from here? Because all these things are true, right? But for some person, you might think it's a lot, and it's lost there. That we should, but where do we start? So the question, I guess, and I'm throwing back to you, where do we go from here? How do we take, this conversation, and what are the pillars that we can stand on as we head into the conversations we're going to have throughout the 2 days? And I'm going to literally throw it directly to you, Dr. Sempembwa, and then we're going to go to you, Pastor Nsia, and Dr. Lucas. And then we're coming over to the person who won't raise their hand.
All right. There's no way to say this, but we need to think differently. We need to think differently, but intentionally think differently, but think differently about what? Yeah, I think what this, both of my panelists here are saying that potential in and of itself is, so what? Potential, but untapped potential is like the burden. It's just potential. You can become. So what? You can. So what? Africa is the wealthiest continent. So what? Until Africa, till your generation, this is where there's hope. Your generation can actually do something. In fact, I think our job as, it looks like I'm a mosaic too, right? As the older generation is to just say, hey, you guys, you guys need us. It's foolish to have us around and yet have you decide to go through make the same stupid mistakes that we did. In fact, the Wazeis have to be willing to sit down and I'll show you my scars. I'll show you that decision that you think is amazing, it's as stupid because I did that 10 years ago and I crashed. Why would you crash? Why do you want to crash? In fact, I say this, life is not designed in such a way that you have all the time to live it, make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and then have enough time to live to your full potential. You don't have time. The only way to shortcut that is you need somebody with tested knowledge, somebody to cut that time short, and it's in the us. We're libraries. Read the library. Read the folly. Look at the folly of our decisions. Don't make you stupid to make your, I want to make my own stupid mistakes. No. Look at our stupid mistakes. So there has to be, that's why the intergenerational conversation is critical. We have done that. That is stupid. Don't do it. You're supposed to say, oh, okay. Don't say, no, I'm gonna go stupid too. Really? Is there wisdom in saying, let me be stupid too? You know what, Dad? Let me be stupid too. That is, no, you can actually do so much more. In fact, the joy of a healthy father is to see you excel. We want to see you better. You don't have to be shackled. We're the ones to tell you, that was, remove that, you know. So there is no getting away from, let's look at this. When we talk about the mastermind, this is a mastermind. This is a group think that's populated by experienced hands and young hearts. Together, we form this incredible, just unstoppable, like engine that will tap into the wealth of this continent, and we can do what our forefathers never did. It is actually possible in this generation. Singapore did amazing things in we can do amazing with technology. We can do incredible. I believe in the next 30 years, we can see Africa go. Absolutely can, and we can if you will listen to us. And we can if we also won't be too arrogant to share the notepad.
Nice. Absolute. Sincere.
What am I supposed to say after that? No, we've been told, listen. I was listening.
That's brilliant.
You know, I even heard my rebuke there, like, don't do the mistake. We have already done them. Because I remember they said, give us room so that we can also learn as you're self-discovering. There's something you had mentioned in the beginning of your speech. You spoke a little bit of your personal, it was a testimony. And then you said, grew up in poverty, your mother sending you out for lunch, you know, to trees so that you can, you know, it's touching. Because there is a generation that has never gone through that. So they do not understand at all what it means to sleep, you know, without food. There is a generation that has no idea, in fact, on how. There's a generation right now that has never seen a real cow. I'm telling you the truth. There's a generation that does not know how to climb a tree so that you can, you know, can get mangoes or whatever's. So there is that generation. Now, for me, what stood out in your speech is when you said, when I encountered faith, is when that was the turnaround for you. That was the beginning of this revolution. It was the beginning of the new you. So I since you have been told to listen, I'll go back there. That you coming across faith is what made you, you know, it began this change. So I do believe that is one of the most important parts of any human being's life, faith. Because the question is, where do we go now from there? As in, how do we make this change? How do we transition faith? And I know we are people from different denominations, different, you know, faith backgrounds. However, I have seen people even having faith in in their talents, in their abilities, just that faith. And faith comes by hearing. I'll go back to the book. I'm a theologian. It comes from hearing, but it doesn't necessarily mean just hearing just scriptures or the word, but even hearing the stories of the elders. Hearing a testimony like Dr. Sembewa's, hearing the achievements like Dr. Lucas, as in just hearing those things can trigger the faith that I don't have to think low about myself, because there are people who did not know where their next shoe is gonna come from, or right now their coping mechanism is buying more shoes so they can heal the inner child walked because they did not have the privilege of having shoes. So something as simple as that. I do believe that it's not too late for this generation. We have time. He has just said here, like he has tried to break it down, that what they don't have, like the older generation, what they don't have is enough time to make the total turnaround. However, we have time. This younger generation, we are privileged with time. We don't need to make the same mistakes, but that time incorporated with the faith that you can gather from your spiritual background, hearing other people's testimonies. I do believe that we can make something quite different. But not only that, while at it, we are also looking at those that are coming behind us. I've noticed that there is a mistake I make. Like the question that maybe a concern you brought up, that there's this person who was frustrated, like guitars are coming from the outside, the drums are what. In fact, when you're saying that, I was like, that's not real. Drums are from Africa. Until you said, you're also concerned over the same thing. But what I have noticed is my children, some of the things they ask me, I will tell them, Google it, YouTube it. So when they go to YouTube or they go to Google, it's going to be a white person creating the drum, or it's going to be somebody of a different ethnicity doing something that an African had been doing for many, many years. So even what we do to our children, we also need to be mindful. We have to become that fireplace. I have to become that fireplace for my children. They need to know this is how we grew up. You are privileged that you are in a house. You're privileged that you have a school bus coming to pick you. However, some of us walked from this to the other place just so that you can get education that right now you can just Google it. So we need to bring them back into, these are books. Read a book, a proper book like this one. Not Wikipedia, like hard copy book. Read this one. Your faith shall be raised from this one as well.
Yes, come on.
All right. Hello. Tweetable moments. All right. Dr. Shalua, over to you.
This is getting so nice. I feel like standing and talking, but I won't. I want us to take this discussion to the next level. Coming back to Pastor Nsia, I want to challenge probably the IT people to create our own Google. The African Google. That will solve a lot of problems. We'll have a place to point our children to. And having said that, I've been thinking a lot for some few years about the question which was posed here of what is the solution. It's so easy to want the solution to come from outside, somebody else to come and rescue us. Probably the government should do something, probably the church should do something, or somebody else should do something. But nowadays, I tend to ask myself, what do I need to do to become that solution? And for the sake of the audience, a person who has that question, what needs to be done? My thinking will be, we need to catch up with knowledge and understanding. I need to apologize first before I say these very strong statements. Being born in Africa, raised in Africa, bred in Africa, and lived outside for more than 3 decades, and now I am back, I'm realizing something which we kind of like miss a little bit. We have a generation right now in Africa of young men and women who are very pro entertainment rather than education. And everywhere I look and I observe, including my own children, the amount I studied medicine to its depth. And when I was released to the world, I realized I am knowledgeable in one area, but a fool in so many other areas. And it showed my insecurity. And I took time. I studied myself to do computer programming, to do websites, to do telephones, to do everything. And in other places, I've been testifying that I managed to make my own telephone company from my basement, and I learned myself. That's how much I realized that I was behind in terms of electronics. So I challenged many people who I meet, and I say, what do you do based on all this understanding, all this knowledge that is out there? And my children, I normally tell them that if you're watching TV, you are on the wrong side of the tube. The person who is on the other side of the tube is making all the money they need to make. You are on this side of the tube, you are losing all the time and the money, which you could have been on the other side of the tube. So what do we do with the time, like Pastor Nsia said very well? What do we do with the time that we have? What do you learn when you have your cell phone? There was a time in my life, this is a joke, not right now, but there was a time in my life, every time I get a text message, it was $100 coming into my account. Every time it goes like ting, I was making $100, $200. And every day I will make up to 300, 400 text messages coming in. So I will make $3,000 a day, every day. That was my resolution, that the cell phone is going to be an instrument that is going to make money for me. So I learned to make software. I learned to make apps. I learned to make e-learning platform. I am having a medical background. I could not blame anybody. That was the passion I followed. So my challenge to you young men right now, we can sit here all day long while there is YouTube University sitting there. You go there, watch music, it's good. You go there, watch preachers preach, it's good for your spiritual health. But what do you do to make yourself, realize your destiny? Get out of poverty. There is so much Africa can do. I was challenging another group of people, and I asked them, what do you have? And one person told me, you know what? I am a software engineer. And I asked him, what are you doing right now? He told me, this is the second year I'm still trying to get employed. And I said, where have you posted yourself that you have what you have? He said, nowhere. And I told him, you know what? There are websites whereby around the world, everybody who has a skill posts their skills, and they can solicit work from all over the world. And one time I was looking for a software engineer. There was no one person from Tanzania listed on that website. No one person. There was a time I was writing a book. I wanted somebody to transcribe the videos in order for me to write that book, because I had made so many talks and I wanted to compile those talks. They were in English, a little bit in Swahili, to make a book. So I went to this website, find somebody from Tanzania to transcribe that for me. There was nobody. And where are these people? They are full in our churches. They are everywhere else except where they could take themselves out of poverty. They could be in the world platform making a difference. They're not there. So I want to challenge the young generation. And I don't just challenge them by telling you, I challenge you by doing what I'm doing. I tried it and it worked. So you can try. It works. The world has all these windows and gates waiting for young people to step into. There are people who look down on African education. They say, you know what? I'm an inbred. I studied first degree in University of Dar es Salaam, second degree in Mzumbe, and my PhD is, I don't know, in Tumaini University. So I am inbred. I say this is the best education you can ever have. You know why? Because I am an academician back in the US. I am a professor, and I teach medicine. And I can compare the level of understanding of people who trained in Africa compared to those who are trained somewhere else. We have the best thinking way, the critical thinking. The way they take us through our education system prepares us to be global citizens. You can survive anywhere in the world based on what you have trained here in Africa. The only problem is we are that elephant we were told. We have a shackle on our feet and we don't want to move. We think this is not for us. We cannot do this. So I believe the first thing to do is to look what we have. Moses, if I come to the ancient scriptures, Moses was asked of God, what do you have in your hand? And Moses said, just a staff. If you listen careful, Moses didn't know what he had in his hand. He said, just a staff. And God, to show him it is not just a staff, he told him, throw it down. Yeah. And when he threw it down, it turned into a what? Into a big snake. And the Bible says Moses ran away from that snake. Once you know what you have, you will be so surprised, you will literally run from yourself. You will be so shocked why you didn't know all this time that you have so valuable of a thing, which is, you know, the understanding, the time, the vitality. Even them being in Tanzania, for you Tanzanians, being Tanzania right now, the whole world wants to come to Tanzania. What do they see that you don't see? So open up your eyes. Abraham was told, all that you see is given to you. So if you don't see, it's not yours. Thank you.
All right. A hand of applause once again. I am going to ask for a different mic, please. Let me just take this one. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're going to reflect as a whole. So I'm going to ask for that Mentimeter question to go up. There's a software called Mentimeter, and it's going to help us quickly reflect. But with this, I'm going to ask all three of you, because I'd like you to also see the questions and the responses. I'm going to ask you, you can leave your mic there, to take your seat. And then we're going to just go with the mic. We're going to perhaps engage from here, because I'd like you to also see the questions. We've got 3 questions that I'm going to ask. Think differently. How? We've got 3 questions that are going to show up. The first one, just so that you start thinking about it, or perhaps let me start telling you how it's going to work. There's this code here. I need you to scan it. When you scan the code, now let me perhaps tell you how to scan it. You will take your phones and go to the camera. So the camera, let me stand on the side. So you go to the camera. When you point your camera towards this code, it should show you a link. A link should pop up. Click on that link. It will take you to Mentimeter. Or what you can do, if that doesn't work for you or if the camera is a bit confusing, I need you to go to menti.com. So www.menti.com, and you're going to use this code. The code is 12548823. 12548823. Are we there? So scan the code, it will take you to the question. If the code is not working for you, go to menti.com, menti.com, and use this code. Put in this code. The code is 12548823. Right? Let's go to our first question. Now, the first question on Menti, and I think this is what you'll be able to see. The first question is, oh no, it's not that one. It was, what was your aha moment? An aha moment, who can tell us what an aha moment is? Wow. Aha. 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 That tubular moment, that thing that stood out for you from the things that were shared. What is your aha moment? All right? And we're going to be able to see them on the screen. I think that's the first question. Has everybody seen the question? You don't see the question yet? It's not the first one? The first one should be your aha moment. So let's do this. There's a little bit of a mishap. I see some of you already filling in. Do you see it? Yes. What is your aha moment? You see it? Yes. Wonderful. All right, we're going to see some responses on that. There we go. So your aha moments. The realization of the elephant theology by Dr. Sepembwa, the need for intellectual awakening, we are elephants. Hey. The capability of freedom but caged with shackles of the mind, having to advise your parents on something you barely see is wrong and could bring development of the whole family lineage. An eagle that thinks like a chicken cannot fly. Dr. Lucas Chalua, once you realize what you truly have, you will literally run from yourself because of the magnitude of your strength. Wow. I hope we're treating these things. The monuments should remind us of where we come from. The fact that if you develop a passion into something, you can walk yourself from poverty. That Abraham was told, all these you see are yours. If you do not see it, it's not yours. The ability to craft our own things, the need for renewed African values. All you see is given to you. If you do not see it, it's not yours. We need to develop an African Google. My aha moment is the word from the doctor that all that we see is given, right? That thing about sight is standing out a lot. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming. Do we have anybody who'd like to share and to say more? Perhaps you're bubbling up inside and you can't write it down. I've got one hand here. Let me just explain something to you. Mimi, this one makes no sense to me. I do not understand this. I'll be honest with you. As a young African woman passionate about this continent, when my head is there, you will see it. You will not doubt that my hand is up. It is up. In fact, I'll put two. So if you'd like to share something, please put your hand up. There we go. I see a hand. I see a hand. I see a hand here. Introduce, yes, please do. Tell us your name, and then go directly.
morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Tina Suzette Bella. I am professionally a medical doctor, but I'm also the founder and director of a beautiful all-women ministry here in Tanzania. 300 women called Kingdom Women Tanzania. So, thank you. So something I just wanted to, I'd say sort of emphasize, and it was talked about by everyone who actually shared today, is a thought that came up. And as a young 27-year-old woman who deals with matters of the heart medically and matters of the heart spiritually, I've noticed that there is sort of like a cage that we all live in. I think you guys saw my cage comment as well. And that elephant analogy that the beautiful doctor gave is that if you took the shackles off that elephant probably still wouldn't walk, right? Because in their mind, they believe that I cannot walk. In medicine, doctor, you know, there's a syndrome called the locked-in syndrome, which is there's nothing wrong with this person physically, but mentally. They can move their eyes, they can communicate with you, but they cannot walk. And you have to talk to them until they can. Now, again, we're not anti-West, but what the West, I believe, has done is sort of veiled our eyes with this mendacious ruse that what we now see is the norm. What we now live is the norm. There's that African proverb, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it says, don't think that the water is calm just because you don't see crocodiles or something like that. But then what is happening now is that we see the crocodiles, but we're still told that the water is safe. We're still told that the water is calm. And what do? We walk into this water, even though we can see these crocodiles. And it's not that we can't see it, but because they tell us that it is calm, we believe it is calm. You cannot teach someone something they do not know. You cannot expect them to practice something they do not know. You take a surgeon into a theater, they will do what they need to do because they have been taught to do so. But you take someone else who's not trained, they'll just look at that patient and nothing will happen. Now, as I'd like to challenge the older generation to teach us what we do not know. You sit down and you talk to the young generation now, myself included. There are things that I do not know, not because I don't want to, but I haven't been taught. I have not sat at the fireplace, as you would put it. So how do I get this knowledge if there is no fire burning? So I'd like to challenge the older generation. Please give us this fire. We want it. We just don't know how to get it.
Absolutely. So, two things there. The West has told us and kept us locked in, but the fact of the matter is we also keep each other locked in. Because if you hear the narrative from some of the people who, most of the times you realize that the person who told you you can't is not the West, it's somebody who has been told by the West, so that now they're handing it down. Right? And then on the other side, with the older generation, it's may we be given a safe space to learn. Because it's also the fact that tell us and take us through it, but do not reprimand us. Because sometimes you're not necessarily running away from the message, you're running away from the messenger because of how they are delivering the message. So you're like, no. All right? So I am just going, I know you had your hand up, but I'm going to try to look for somebody from this side and this side, right? Just two hands, and then I will definitely come back to you. I've got a hand there. I had a hand there, and then I'll come back to you. Lucy, could you please help me here? And then we're going to come to this side, and then we're going to finish with the lady here. This is very unique. Where are the young men? Normally, I'm looking for the ladies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mercy Gabriel, and I'm a public speaker and a founder of We Talk Club. And as you can see me, I'm a youth, a millennial, right? Like the next generation. And I think, as what my sister said earlier there, it's that we also miss that fireplace feeling. Like, I was just here and I'm like, wow, like I just wish I had it when I was very young. Yeah, and I think the only thing that just happens is that something called globalization. It's not a bad thing, right? Like, it's a good thing, but still, like, the grown-ups want to adapt to globalization, but they don't get that globalization is for the youth. Sorry, guys. Yeah. For example, when I used to try to learn to climb trees, my dad would tell me, no, you shouldn't climb trees. And every time that I went to my dad with a question like that, can you help me with this one? And he would tell me, you are in the 21st century. Google it. Go online. You see, the only time that parents would actually sit down and talk to us is when the lights is out. Umekatika, parents gather up, you have nothing to do, your phones are off charge, then you start making up stories. So as young generations, it's not that we don't want to listen, it's that we don't know how it feels to sit down and listen. We have not been exposed. Just look around here. Probably I'm the youngest here, excluding the kids. You see? So if we were given that fireplace feeling, if parents are not trying to become addicted to globalization and TikTok, then maybe we would have that beautiful fireplace that we are eagerly craving. Thank you.
All right. Some of us are the youngest in spirit. That's perfect. That was incredible. We've got a hand here.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Kalila, for this opportunity. To everyone in this room, my name is Rachel Magege. I am a lawyer by profession, and I want to express my sincere gratitude to the panelists. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this wisdom with us. One of the things that I like to think about, even as we're discussing African wisdom, is the impact on the digital space or the digital innovation world that we're living in right now. I say this because in the entire digital space, there has been conversations and maybe sometimes even complaints of not enough African data or not enough African information in there. Now, this is something that I would love for our our elders here, our entrepreneurs, our mentors in here, and to everyone in here, if we can have more of conversations, noise, just mentoring about ways that we can keep on adding more African data into the digital space. I say this because, for example, you go online and say you want to look at research on the Maasai people, the Maasai tribe. And for context, to those of you who may not know, the Maasai tribe is one of the very well-known tribes here in Tanzania, but also in Kenya. So you go online and you look up this research, and believe me, you will find a lot of research, but looking at the percentage, a lot of that research is actually not put out there by Africans. You'll find this research done by Stanford University or some other researchers in Germany, but not enough of that being put out by Africans. So I think it's very, very important we do that, because in as much as we can find so much information online, a lot of that information, if it's not coming from an African, as an African, you will always go back to Google and type beautiful girl, and you'll only see maybe 2 or 5 images of Black African women, and then the rest are images of other people. But the more you put input in there, the more that we put our languages out there. Like, I would love to just go online one day and just find so many articles written in Zulu or in Shona or in Kiswahili. I'll try to learn the languages if I don't know them, but that would be a very beautiful thing, rather than the narrative, which has always been majority of components being in English or being in the Western aspect. So I think that's a very beautiful conversation to have. And then the very last thing, Kels, as I wrap up, Mercy, I'd like to encourage you that even in this space that we are in right now, there are so many of our mentors. Mr. Bugoya is walking out, but he is someone that you can definitely connect to. He's walking out right now. He is one of the founders of a very successful...
We know you're coming back. She's just letting her know
Yes,
that
I was
you're
just referring to you. He is one of the founders of a very successful editing company here in Tanzania called Mkuki na Nyota Publishers. They publish a lot of books, most of them in the Kiswahili language, and most of them actually tell the old and ancient stories about who we are as Africans, about stories that can really even help us learn in so many domestic skills, entrepreneurship skills. So let's reach out to many of our mentors, and trust me, they're always willing to listen to us as long as you reach out to them. For those who will listen to you. Kels, thank you.
Thank you very much. A hand of applause. The final reflection, and then we're going to close this session. Yes, please, that's you. Yes, that is you. Could I have a mic to this lady right here? Sharon, please. Right.
Good morning. My good names are Doris Mgeta. By profession, I'm a lawyer, but also an economic diplomat. I am.
Go on now.
I have only two concerns. I don't want to put them as concerns, but it's food for thought. Number one, Dr. Dennis spoke of, elites being in decision-making tables and trying to enact these laws that in turn will affect my generation and our children to come. So this is a challenge, food for thought. We have election processes. This is how we obtain leaders globally. Churches are not pushing in young people to be in those spaces. We can't say no from outside. None of us in here are parliamentarians. Do I have any member of parliament in the house? None. We don't say no while we're seated here. We'll make a lot of noise, but the papers, the ones who the signatarians are the ones in-house. Do we have kingdom people in-house? Enough in numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to return you back to a very sensitive story that most people forget, the story of Rahab. She was a prostitute, but she was used as an intelligence officer to win a war. My generation is facing, I would like to quote Pastor Sia, is facing a crisis of hearing. We have the mainstream media that pours out a lot of negativity. We consume it, we live it, we believe it, so there is no space for growth because the mainstream media is not owned by kingdom people. The media is owned by the people of the godly kingdom. They constantly play songs of worship and praise, which is good. But are you in a competitive situation where we can compete with BBC, compete with Al Jazeera? So when we say we spread the word of God and we transform minds in Africa, we are in the same sequel, mainstream media, as the rest. To finalize, food for thought. I urge you today, instead of pushing us to not only evaluate ourselves and become peoples, make us those peoples by encouraging us to be in the spaces. We have elections next year. We have elections in 2025. Our churches funding young people. We have to be in the war zone and be like them. Know their tricks and trade. We will show who we are because we carry the God inside. When the Israelites were in captivity during the vicious cycle, they didn't reveal who they were. At one point, Abraham even told Sarah, lie to the man, tell Pharaoh, I'm your brother, so that we survive through this period. Do we have the capacity to push ourselves in the spaces? Let's do what they do. It's a dirty game of money. Fund these young people who are in the kingdom. Let them play the dirty game of money. But when we are there, the decisions that are made are kingdom and godly decisions. Praise the Lord. Amen.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking for a gentleman. But this gentleman is, so now we have three, now you put your hands up, eh? Aha. So this is what I'm gonna do. I've got the three, I've seen the three hands. There's one, there's two, There's 3. I've seen the 4. But because of time, this is what I'm going to do. Allow me. And the fact is, the matter is I'm holding the mic, so. Allow me to ask that we go to the third, to the next Mentimeter question. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break. We're going to have a health break. And when we come back, we're going to start hearing from the gentleman, and then we'll move on. Is that all right? Okay. So again, the code, really quickly. The last question for this session is really simple. Do you believe that this conversation that we're having, because you might feel it's important, but do you feel it's relevant? And the great thing about Mentimeter is it's completely anonymous. So over here, we might all agree and we might not because you don't want to be seen in disagreement. But may you please respond truly. What do you believe in terms of relevance this conversation is to the world today? There's absolutely yes. There's no way. There's yes, but no one cares. And then there is I am not sure. So you can't see the options but they're down here. But be honest. Mentimeter is completely anonymous, and that's fine. So absolutely yes, no, yes, but no one cares, and I don't, or I am not sure. Those are your options. Please respond to the Mentimeter queue. If you do not remember how to join, you go to menti.com. The code is 12548823. 12548823. There we go. We have several yes, but no one cares. And these are some facts, right? So let's be honest. Take a few more seconds here. We have absolutely yes, no way, yes, but no one cares, and I am not sure. We have an I am not sure. So far, we have several yeses. We have no ways. We have the yes, but no one cares are also rising quite a bit. And we also have I'm not sures. Thank you for your honesty. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. And as you keep them coming, I'm just going to share a few takeaways from our session right before we break for lunch. Thank you for catching me there. I was just checking. Are you paying attention? Paying attention. We're together. Right? We went into... So basically, we're discussing how do we think differently? Because the point was think differently. We were challenged, but how? Right? We've spoken about mentorship and the need for active mentorship and active participation. Not just finding somebody who has, I love the example, who has 2 years in marriage, and you're like, hey, they're the mentor. No, but finding somebody who has been seasoned with salt. You realize there are a lot of kingdom people here. But somebody who has really been through that experience, and find them. And great thing is we have those people in this room. There was a challenge for the older generation to show their scars, to be authentic and have honest conversations. I remember a story that my mom told me. My mom told me a story of how her and her siblings grew up. And then as a young child, I remember going to my aunties and it's like, so my mom told me, you are, running around in the rain barefoot with banana leaves. People were offended. How dare you tell them something like that? How dare you tell them And they were offended because they were now living a different life. And they did not want to be linked to a past of poverty. So for them, her sharing the authentic truth was speaking something that they didn't want to relate to. So in terms of, then there's that aspect of parents and the role that family can play. Tomorrow we're going to have a breakout group, and we're going to be talking about the relevance of family. And we have conversations here about the importance, and none of us has come to life without a father and a mother, right? None of us has come to life without some sort of guardian, right, through life. We can all agree there. At least we can have that as a benchmark for everybody, right? And so we all know the role that the parents in our lives have played. So the question is, what role will we play in the next generation coming from us? So this is where we take the mantle, because things have been done to us, but then what are we doing? How are we creating those fireplaces for our young sisters, for our young brothers, for our peers, right? And then, of course, Mercy, you did talk about the fact that, just responding to the fact that you wanted to climb a tree, but you were told you cannot. We were banned. You cannot climb a tree. Who are you to play with the neighbor? Things have changed. Where you want to see a real cow, how? I am a Chaga who can speak the language, and I'm sometimes ashamed of it, but nobody taught me. Yeah. And then right now, if you don't speak it, you're shunned. Hey, Chaga. And I've just said, so you're shunned. When I go back to the village, I'm told, look at you, you don't speak it. I'm like, but you didn't teach it. You spoke to each other, and you were told, when you go in schools, English medium, speak English. That's what you see. Speak English. And right now we have a lot of young people struggling because we've come from English medium schools and we cannot speak the Swahili that's authentic. And we cannot express ourselves rightly. Sometimes you get into spaces and you are looking for somebody who can speak good Swahili. And some people say Kenyan have the better Swahili. That's a conversation for another time because you do not. Hey, Christine, you're going too far. Right? And then we've also, pardon? We meet behind the tent. We'll meet in the chamber. We've also been speaking about the power of words. The power of words that we are hearing, but also the power of the words that we're speaking. The words that we speak are really powerful. So what are we saying about ourselves? Because we're talking about what they're saying about us, but also what are we saying about ourselves? What are we saying about others? What are we saying about our leaders? As a young person, I used to hate being African. And the reason I used to hate being African and hate being Tanzanian was because every time I watched the news, every time I heard older people speak that talk about why the leaders, wa Tanzania, Africans are hatuwezi. Africans, we're so lazy. We can't do 1, 2, 3. And I used to grow up thinking, gosh. And I grew up thinking, I don't want to be African. In fact, I want to be American. I do not want to be African. I don't want to be this thing because every time you watch the news and everything that they're saying is about the poverty, it's about the hurt, it's about the corruption. And so you grow up in this space, in this chamber, in this echo chamber with information and words that are thrown to you about all the negative that you carry. And so it takes a massive upheaval to push up the positive. So we must get in, we're starting here. Guys, even if somebody doesn't look nice, you tell them you look beautiful. You look amazing. And tomorrow, if you do this, you'd even look better. The words that we speak about our leaders. The president is ruining this country. She will never get it right. We have and yes, we have issues with leadership, but the things that we're saying are also creating a reality and a belief for the young ones that are coming out. Africans will never invest in each other. Because you're saying that and then the question I ask, which African are you investing in? Aren't you African? So what are we saying? Because we're creating these realities in the things that we're saying. And because we're talking about the things that we are hearing, but remember, other people are also hearing what you're saying. Right? So that's, it's not even my things, I'm just saying what you've said. That's all I'm saying. We must take ownership, create our own content, and tell our own stories. Take ownership, create our own content, and tell our own stories. If we're talking about the fact that a lot of young people listen to entertainment, but we also know the power that the creative space played in the liberation movement. We know the power that music played in keeping we're talking about those slaves in the fields in America really encouraged and confident about who they are. We know the power that music played, folklore, the stories played in keeping us as a community together. But right now, every single time you listen to music, you hear, I won't even talk about it here. But you all know what this is. That's all you see. That's all our young children see. So from young age, this child is watching TV, and we're talking about gender equality, but we say a young girl sing, a young women are being given cars. I'll open you a car. I'll give you a car. Hey, it's about throw her money, dash money. Huh? That's all we'll see. All if you put on the radio right now, all you see is, and I'm going to say it, it's sex, money, power, fame. Sex, money, power, fame. That's what we see. Those are the music. That's the music we like to hear. And let's be honest, in Abamba, it's good music. You're like, the beat, it touches you in the soul. You wake up in the morning, you want to think about development, but you're thinking, bora ni enjoy. You're thinking it. So we're talking about an honor space, right? So even with that creative space, even though people are connected to the entertainment, what type of entertainment are they consuming? Right? Because entertainment can do one thing. It can either build or demolish. So what kind of entertainment are we consuming and what are we putting out there? We've talked about data and the importance of having data that's created by our people. The fact we're going to be launching Dr. Sempembo's book here. We've talked about books and the fact that, guys, let's just give him a round of applause. And to all the authors in this place. And say thank you for the fact that we have African people putting their stories down. Because we do remember, when we were in the schools, we were reading books about other people. We were reading narratives from other people. But right now, we have so many books from African writers, Mkuki Nanyota. Such a powerful, powerful testament of what we can do, right? But the question is, when you're going to buy your child a book, do you buy them, what is it? Is it Betty Botta, Mary and John, or do you buy them Mabala, the farmer, right? What books are we consuming? What narrative are we consuming as well? That's really important to think about, right? I'm just saying what you've said. The solution has to come from within. Instead of thinking about the other person being the solution, but ask yourself, what do I need to become the solution? Imagine if all of us woke up in the morning thinking that. Yeah. Every single person. What do I need to become the solution? What world would we be creating? We need to catch up with knowledge and understanding. We have an entitlement syndrome. It's massive. It's massive. I deserve. Man, who told you? Who? You deserved your mom's nini milk, but not for that. We have a role to play, right? But how do we take ownership of our own journeys? It is not, as much as we know that the older people have to do something, the government have to do something, in the conversations that we're having here, henceforth, and in every reflection that we have, can we talk about what I will do? May that I take precedence. That I think that I will, ta-da-da. I am challenging myself and everybody else that if we can do collectively, rather than the older should, the younger should, how can we create a space where we're now coming together, but the I needs to take precedence because it has to come from internally, right? We love to point the finger, yeah? It's beautiful. My mom used to tell me, hey, before I'm pointing back to you, hey, ha. We've talked about if you're watching TV, you're on the wrong side of the tube, hey, YouTube, Netflix. We all know. People have accounts. We might be here, you're thinking about, oh, there's that Netflix show. So basically, back to creating our own content. Dr. Sempembo, may I challenge you to make your book into a movie? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Make your book into a movie. Make it a series. May we watch it? Yeah. Right? We're here. Let's have stage productions, theater productions from these books that are written, right? Can we think that way? Because those are all the things. We can use their Netflix, but let's put our stuff. We can use their Google, but let's put our stuff. Let's flood it, right? Be intentional about learning. Push yourself. There is nobody here to save you. Take initiative. When you finally know who you are, you will run from yourself. Because you're too bright a light to contend with. All right? And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to take a moment. Just close your eyes. Ooh, what a morning. I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. I'm going to ask you to put your hand on your heart. Right hand on your heart. If you're left-handed, it's your left hand. You can also use both hands. I am responsible for the future that I carry. I am Africa herself. I am responsible for her narrative. I am responsible for her future. And I am her solution. I am her solution. Say it with a little bit of oomph. I am her solution. There we go. Open your eyes. So we're going to stand up, Africa Wisdom Summit, and then right after that, we're going to head off through that door, go through that lift. We're going to have the health break. We have some bites. We have breakfast on the ground floor. So we'll go through the lift, press G all the way to the ground floor. We're going to take about 15 minutes. We're going to try our best to take 15 minutes. It is 11:45. We're going to push to be here by noon. That is 1,200 hours. In case you're unsure what that is, it is the 1 and the 2 with the 1, 2, and 2 zeros. 1, 2, 2 zeros. 1,200 hours, we're back here. Let's stand up, everybody. First, give yourselves a round of applause and the incredible panel this morning. A massive round of applause. Africa Wisdom Summit, right hand, left hand, hands together, summit. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Africa Wisdom Summit. Let's go for it. One more time, like we mean it. 1, 2, 3. Africa Wisdom Summit. Wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. And that is our first session for today. Have a wonderful break. Be back here by 1,200 hours. And that means if you want to network, let's try to network when we're back in this room. We have a team of ushers that will show you out. Let's head out. We have very few minutes to be back here. We started a little bit late, so let's be diligent with our time. We are the solution to our delayed start. So we are our solution to make sure we finish on time.